करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Yeah, we begin with the poem, The Toys.
The toys. My little son, who looked from thoughtful eyes and moved and spoke in quite grown-up wise, having my law the 7th time disobeyed, I struck him and dismissed with hard words and unkissed. His mother, who was patient being dead, then fearing lest his grief should hinder sleep, I visited his bed, but found him slumbering deep, with darkened eyelids and their lashes, yet from his late sobbing wet. And I with moan kissing away his tears, left others of my own. For on a table drawn beside his head, he had put within his reach a box of counters and a red veined stone, a piece of glass braided by the beach, and 6 or 7 shells, a bottle of bluebells, and 2 French copper coins ranged there with careful art to comfort his sad heart. So when that night I prayed to God, I wept and said, Ah, when at last we lie with tranced breath, not vexing thee in death, and thou rememberest of what toys we made our joys, how weakly understood thy great commanded good, then fatherly, not less than I, whom thou hast moulded from the clay, thou'lt leave thy wrath and say, I will be sorry for their childishness. Coventry Patmore.
This poem is a very emotional or a very touching poem. We have seen Casabianca before, where the son dies. That is also a very tragic poem. A father also dies and the son was standing there and the son dies. That conveyed a great message of faith. But this is a different poem. See, in terms of, I do not know how to really explain this poem, because in terms of the rhyme and rhythm, probably this does not fit into the poetical rhythms also. So there is an outpouring of expression of a deep emotion by the poet. He is also a great poet, Coventry Patmore, a very highly religious person also. But this poem probably more has to be felt rather than understood at a very highly philosophical level or something, though there is a deep message there. This has to be, once you are able to move with the character of the father in this poem, then you will be able to understand how the mind really matures and understands life is all about. That is what this poem is there. The narrative is again very simple. That here is a young boy who sort of speaks like a grown-up person, and he constantly disobeys his father's instruction or command. When it goes beyond a point for the father to handle, he loses his temper, strikes the boy, and says very harsh words, and leaves that boy to go to sleep without the good night kiss, which probably he will which he will give daily. And the sad part is that the boy doesn't have a mother. She is dead. So after a while, when things have calmed down probably within the father's heart, he realizes that this type of experience might actually hinder the sleep of the boy. So he visits the bedroom to sort of console him. But there he sees that the boy is already fast asleep, but he had cried a lot. This is evidenced by his eyes being very wet. He has been crying for long. And just to comfort himself, the boy had arranged some petty things, some small, that is where the topic comes, the toys. He had arranged some toys just to comfort his heart. And these toys are described, in fact, one of the best description is the description of the toys in this poem, because all are quite small and petty things, useless things as it were, but he had arranged them carefully to comfort his heart. And this scene touches the father. He feels that he feels a sense of regret and remorse, and as he kisses away the tears of his son, he himself cries, and he is sort of having a conversation with God, and he says in his prayer how probably God will look at the whole scenario as the supreme father of all, and the experience of boy is not any different from that of any of us, the adult, except that our toys are something different from the toys of the boys. That's all it is. So it is a very, what to say, deeply philosophical, in the sense that here the father was able to understand, now looking at the scenario, how the boy feels and experiences. And with that, he is able to draw a parallel in our own lives as to what are the things that we keep on pursuing to give comfort to our own hearts. And when we are behaving like this as a child, what is the way in which God looks at us? This is what he is able to now relate, and that actually makes him much more emotional, and that is why he weeps and says that prayer. We'll just go through this poem again. My little son, who looked from thoughtful eyes and moved and spoke in quite grown-up voice. So he was a little, the words here also they are very suggestive. He says, my little son. That means he is obviously expected to be immature. He is not a grown-up adult. He is not having that capacity. He is a little son. And moved and spoke in quite grown-up voice, but as though speaking like a grown-up person, speaking like a wise person. So sometimes the children behave like this, and then you say keep quiet, then you say, you should not say like this, but they keep on in that mood, they keep on doing like that. So this is how the child behaves. Now beyond a point, the father is not able to take this. So he says, having my law the seventh time disobeyed. He disobeyed his father seventh time. Now this seems to be, as though the father has given a long rope to the child. It seems to be like that. But towards the end of the poem, we will see how much laws we are breaking. That is countless actually. Seventh time for a boy, maybe nothing also. Still you can deal with the boy. But the point is, this person loses his school. This person loses his school, and then what he does is, he strikes him, he hits him, and dismissed with hard words. That is even more hurting actually. When you hit somebody at the physical level, it does hurt him, but greater hurt happens when you hurt him with the words. Tirukural also says that even a wound that is created by a fire, that will heal over a period of time, but something that you hurt others with your words, that is not going to heal. So this hurts him very badly. And unkissed, this is the expression of love. Therefore, when he says unkissed, means the father is now bereft of that emotion. That is the key point here. See, it is not that the child should not be disciplined, or it should not be put in place, but there is a method to do it. But the basic factor which is important in the relationship, which is the love. And here, being the adult, it is father's onus to maintain that. and that is dry now. He is bereft of that emotion, and therefore he leaves him unkissed. And the next line talks about the condition of the boy. He says, his mother, who was patient, being dead. Probably there is a pun also in the word patient here, because if the mother had been there, she would have been more patient. It could have been a scenario that the mother is dead, he doesn't have a mother, but deliberately the poet uses the word that mother was a patient and she was dead. Yes, patient means she was suffering and she died, that could be the meaning. But also that word patient indicates the loss of patience on the part of the father. His mother, who was patient, being dead. This is the background. Then what happens? Then, fearing lest his grief should hinder sleep, I visited his bed. Later, a little while later, the father realizes what he has done, and he understands the son will be grieving. He will be definitely in sorrow. So therefore it will hinder his sleep. He will not be able to sleep because of that. So therefore he goes there to console him. I visited his bed, but found him slumbering deep. This is the scenario. I mean, in the sense, but the father now encounters a scene where the boy is actually in deep sleep now, but found him slumbering deep. That means that now the father is able to visualize what the son has gone through. How? With darkened eyelids and their lashes yet from his late sobbing wet. He is able to see that the tears have not yet dried. Darkened eyelids, he has been sobbing for long, and their eyelashes yet from his late sobbing, because of that sobbing, continuously crying, it is still wet. And now the father moans. That means he is struck with grief now. Here grief is in a positive way, he is affected by the scenario. He is now mourning. As he kisses away the tears of his son, left others of my own. So the father was now crying. Why? Because obviously he is regretting his behavior, and he is thinking in terms of what the son would have gone through without his comfort in the interim period or in between period. And that's why I said this is just a emotional scenario that the poet has created. You have to go along with the scene of the poem here. So the father is feeling a deep sense of regret. Now, one point we need to remember here is that when any action comes back to you and it hits you with a sense of remorse or regret, then you can say that you have committed a sin according to your level. From Vedanta point of view, there is no such thing as any particular action is either virtuous or sinful per se. It is determined with reference to your level. If the action produces a reaction within you and it comes back and hits you, it makes you agitated, then you are said to have committed a sin according to your level. And that is what is very clear in the case of this father here. Probably he should have shown a little more patience and dealt with the situation a little more carefully, but he lost his cool, and therefore he is agitated now. So kissing away his tears, left others of my own. He was crying himself. For why he was crying? For because he says, on the table drawn beside his head, a small table was there on the head side of the bed of the boy, where he had put within his reach. Put within his reach means as he was lying down also there is something that he can reach with his hands. That means there is something that he wants to have a contact and touch to have a consolation for himself. He needs that sort of a comfort. So he had put within his reach what? A box of counters and a red vein stone. All these are some silly toys. Counters means something that you use in some like dice is a counter in a snake and ladder game or a ludo game, some type of a counter, okay, something to count. A red vein stone is a small type, a design type of a stone which is used in decorative material, like in a necklace or something that they put. It is not a precious stone, but an ordinary stone, a red vein stone. A piece of glass abraded by the beach, a small glass which has been washed ashore in the beach. He had collected it and kept it. A piece of glass abraded by the beach. Absolutely things that have no value at all. That is the point you need to remember in the description of the toys. 6 or 7 shells, something again he has collected in the beach. A bottle with bluebells. Some bottle with bluebells is some small blue type of flower. It looks like bells, so it's bluebells. All these small things he had collected. And 2 French copper coins, probably French copper coins. The term indicates, as it is given in the glossary also, that it is of no value at all. French coin has no value, where probably this he is talking about in England, and it's copper coin. Compared to any silver coin or something, it has no value at all. All these are the carefully arranged toys that he has in his bedside, arranged there with careful art. He has kept them in a very nice and careful way. Why? To comfort his sad heart. So this scenario actually touches the father, and that is why he is actually mourning and he is crying. Now, what does this scene actually remind him? That is the crux of the poem. So when that night I prayed to God, I wept and said. So in his prayer, in his conversation with God, in other words, what is his thinking now? What is his conscience saying? And that is expressed as his conversation with God. So when that night I prayed to God, I wept and said, when at last we lie with tranced breath, not vexing thee in death. When we are in the last stages of our life, lie in tranced breath refers to a sleep-like state, which is referring to the impending death now. And not vexing thee in death means not annoying you in death. Not annoying you in death means this boy had gone off to sleep without bothering his father. Exactly like that, without any thought of God or reality or something, we just pass off to that state of ultimate sleep, death, not vexing thee in death. When we at last, so imagine that a person is in deathbed and he is slowly going into that, going to that ultimate sleep. Ultimate sleep means ultimate sleep in this lifetime. And what happens is that Supreme Father, who is the Father in heaven, who is the God, he is watching this whole scenario. How does he feel? How does he look at that? And that is the comparison that he is drawing here. When at last we lie with tranced breath, not vexing thee in death. As in every poem, this poem also has these lines given in italics, which are the important lines of the poem, not in the original. These are specially marked by Swamiji to make us understand these are the most important lines in the poem. And thou rememberest of what toys we made our joys, how weakly understood thy great commanded good. Just as this father is seeing the innocent boy trying to get comfort with the carefully arranged toys near his bed, the Supreme Father will remember of what toys we made our joys. So we might not be now playing with the toys of our childhood. We might have grown over them. But what are we caught up in? Bhajagovindam says, Balas tavat krida saktaha, tarunas tavat taruni saktaha. A balas tavat means as long as you are a child, you are caught up in toys and trinkets and playthings. Like even a child of a millionaire is like that. Even though he might have a separate bank account and he has million of rupees, that boy will be the child will be playing with some broken things. Even a good toy he might reject in favor of some broken things that he might like. Now, when you grow away from that, you are caught up in some other toys. So, it is only that the shape and size and the value, it only changes with reference to the next toy that you are going into. Instead of a normal cycle, you will go into a motorbike. That is your passion at that point of time. And that is a toy. Just as a child would hold on to the toy, you hold on to these toys. As though these are all having a complete value over that. So Swamiji always says, what are the toys that make your joys? The toys that make our joys is name, fame, power, position, family, status, money. You put all these things. French copper coin is the money, and all other things, if you want to fit it in, because some are intangible, you can equate it to all other things. That's all it is. These are the toys that make our joys. These are the toys that make our joys. Why do we try to find comfort in these? And do we really find comfort in this? What has happened? This boy has kept everything and he has actually gone off to sleep. It is there within his reach, but it's of no use to him at all. But all these are there like a temporary comfort that it might give to us. It is not going to give us a firm, full satisfaction. In this poem, the boy was deeply hurt and he needed the consolation from his father. That deep emotion and the deep comfort and the warmth of love is what he needed, and that would have maybe comforted his heart more. But that did not come, that did not happen. So therefore, as a substitute, he has used all these toys. And is that any substitute at all? No. No way that these toys will substitute the real emotion that he wants. Now, exactly like that, what you are worth of and what is it that the Supreme Self, the Father in heaven, wants to give us or wants you to pursue is that kingdom of heaven which is within you. And we are not in pursuit of that, right? And therefore, what will really give us full satisfaction is that only. If we get that only, we will get full satisfaction. We might express it, we might not express it, we might know it, we might not know it, but that is what is going to give us full satisfaction. I am reminded of a movie called Random Harvest, which some of you might have seen in connection with what Swamiji recommends and shown often in Vedanta Academy. Charles Rainier was the hero who, I'm not going to the full story of it, but highly philosophical. He loses his memory. He had married to Paula and come away from his home in search of a job in Liverpool. There he meets with an accident and he regains his old memory. Old memory is that he is Charles Rainier. And he has forgotten that he is married and his wife is there, a new child is born, and he doesn't know why he is in Liverpool, what he is doing, all that he has forgotten. He has gone back to his original identity, which is Charles Rainier. But one key is there in his pocket. That key is the key of his house. And in the meantime, Paula finds him, but he doesn't recognize her. He ends up marrying her again as his secretary. But he gains various wealth in life, power in life, position in life, but constantly his thought is in, what is this key? What is this key? Where am I belonging to? This is the thought that is going to him. So the point I'm trying to convey with this example is, whatever comes in his life doesn't give him full satisfaction because there is a constant pursuit of something else, and that is what is getting reminded by that key in that movie. So if you are able to draw that parallel here, we are supposed to search for that Supreme Self, and that is what our life is meant for. You will get full satisfaction. You will attain only that state of Paripurna only then. but then we have no clue of that, and to cater to our mind's agitation from time to time, to pacify it, you get into various other things that will give you comfort. And what are those things? It is the name, it is the fame, it is your acquisition of power, position, your family, status, money, sometimes this, sometimes that. It goes in a chakkar like this. How weakly understood thy great commanded good. Actually, that even if we are given certain harsh experiences in life, it is meant for our own good. It is not understood. Why is God doing to me like this? This is the first question you'll ask. Or even if it is not why me, you'll ask why now? Why am I getting this now? Maybe everything afterwards settled, you could have given me the disease. So we are not able to reconcile what has been dished out to us. But the fact is that whatever has been given to us or being dished out to us is out of extreme compassion for our own welfare only. We will not be able to understand this. That's why he says, how weakly understood thy great commanded good. A child is adamant and it wants to eat laddu when it is having a stomach ache. The mother actually does not give the laddu, but the child is so adamant and crying and wailing and rolling on the floor. At last, without really wanting to give happily, she gives it, just chalo, take it, like that. And the child doesn't know how to handle it. Maybe eats and the stomach ache is increased now. Again, it doesn't know what to do. The mother only understands, so probably she will give a slap to the child and make the child drink castor oil, which is a very sort of punishing thing. It will not be able to drink, but it has to drink. Now, why is the mother giving that castor oil, which is like a punishment to the child? Because it is out of her compassion. It is that which is required at that point of time. When she gave laddu, maybe she was not that happy, but when she will give castor oil, she will be more happy because that is going to rectify the child. It is exactly like that, but child at that point of time will not understand the great compassion of the mother. It will not be understood. Exactly like that. How weakly understood thy great commanded good. And thou rememberest of what toys we made our joys. How weakly understood thy great commanded good. Then fatherly not less than I whom thou hast moulded from clay, thou leave thy wrath and say, I will be sorry for their childishness. But that Supreme Father, now let us say he is standing and then you have forgotten everything and you are going into that deep trance with your mind in a way that it is consoled, going into that deep state of death. You are more fatherly than me, right? He is the Supreme Father who is the father of everybody. He is like a Jagat Pita. Okay, he is like that. He is Supreme Universal Father. You do not have that wrath. You do not have that anger. This is the slight difference between the Father's experience and the Supreme Father here. So he says, why am I not able to have that type of a feeling? When you are going through all these things, you never say that, come on, you went for all that, no, you suffer. This type of anger you don't have. And what is the other attitude that he is able to express? He says, I will be sorry for their childishness. That is how you look at us. In Bhagavad Gita and in Upanishad, a term is often used. It is called Balaha. Balaha means children. How do the wise people look at the so-called immature adults? The so-called adults actually who are immature. Balaha, children. They may be grown up in age physically, but mentally they are still children. Instead of getting caught up in toys, they are getting caught up in some other toys, a higher toy, that's all. What is the stupid children, they are playing with it. But you are playing with your prestige, and if somebody pricks that, you are extremely offended. Like that, you are attached at that point of time. So how do the wise people say? They never scold you and say that, why don't you grow up? No, they understand you are still a child. You will gain maturity in future. You will grow up. But as of now, it is just the childishness expressing. That's all it is. So if the father had probably had this attitude and dealt with it, he would not have had that emotionless transaction with his son. And that is what is making him regret. But in that process, he is able to understand with maturity now. If you are able to fit in this, then Swamiji's commentary of understanding the Father here as the preceptor will also fit in. So I am also molded from clay. That means I am made of matter by you. In Christian faith also it is said that man is like an image of God. So you have to exhibit that same divine quality or divine nature in you. But probably this father forgot that and now he has regained that. So how will the wise people react to this scenario is that I will be sorry for their childishness. Yes, it will take time. It is easy to say that is your karma, you will get the karma phala, all that is correct. You will reap what you sow, and God is like a witness watching all these things. But in and through all these things, there is a great compassion. There is a great sense of what to say, a higher position from which we are being viewed. Now, why not you deal with others in the world with that same maturity? That is what this poet is trying to say. Coventry Patmore. We will listen to Swamiji's commentary.
The boy in the poem spoke wisely but repeatedly disobeyed his father's instructions. The father struck and sent him to bed. Later, he visited the son's room, fearing grief might hinder his sleep. The father found the boy fast asleep. His eyes were still wet from sobbing. And beside his bed he had carefully arranged his simple, trifling playthings. The scene of the child's innocence touched his father's heart. He felt a deep sorrow. The poet compares the boy's childishness to that of adults. Adults too speak words of wisdom, but they are involved in the petty attractions of this world. People are lost in name, fame, power, position, status, money, and family. These are the toys that presently make their joys. A preceptor, signified by father, looks sympathetically at their pettiness. Like the father of the boy, the preceptor also feels sorry for the childishness of human beings.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.